Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Godspeed TV. I'm your host, Riley Roseby, your guide into the AI-enabled paradigm shift. Now, it's been a little bit since we last spoke. Last week, I was in Toronto, and shout out JC Peretz for bringing me out there. We had a wonderful time. We broke some bread. We talked about markets. We talked about flying cars. Here I am talking about robots. On the left there, Stash and I are, envisioning what flying cars are going to look like in cities. And I'll tell you what, being on the top of that tower, it's a little bit easier to imagine. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of space up there, no pun intended. So let's get back to it. We got major themes. These are the major themes that we're watching going into the year end. Major themes we're watching into 2026, and likely the major themes that are going to be playing out for, let's just call it the better part of the next 18 months. So artificial intelligence is real. We know this. ChatGPT is great. Perplexity comment, fantastic. What is that going to enable? Well, we're seeing a rise in autonomous mobility with Waymo and Tesla. Robots are coming. Advanced air mobility, flying cars, eVTOLs, all the fun stuff. Nuclear energy, space, and China. These are the major themes that we are watching. Now let's do a little sentiment check on the AI trade as a whole. This was this week. NVIDIA to invest up to $100 billion in OpenAI, linking two artificial intelligence titans. Not bearish. Certainly not something we see at a bottom. Definitely something we would see more likely at a top. Now, I'm not going to call this a top by any means. We can have fun and live in this irrational exuberance, if we want to even call it that, for a very, very long time. But when you see 100 billion, you got to stop. You got to take a look at it. Understand what's going on. Big moves happening here, but let's keep moving forward. I want to talk about autonomous mobility because this trend is intact. It is a mega trend. And take a look at the Global X Autonomous and Electric Vehicles ETF, ticker DRIV. Big week last week. We are well above that anchored VWAP, going back to its 2021 all-time high. Folks, I think we're testing those levels. Next stop, $30, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Here we got some fun news about Tesla's robotaxi platform program expanding beyond Austin. Tesla's ground validation testing spotted in Plano, Texas. Robotaxi may be coming here soon. This was yesterday. Now, Tesla's received operating permits in Arizona and in Nevada. Hasn't really done anything with those. We're still just seeing their robotaxis go to work in Austin. Waymo's kind of in their similar spot. They're testing in, half a dozen cities. They're mapping out another half dozen cities. There's rumors they're going to try and move to London in 2026. Again, folks, this is a mega trend. This is a trend to watch. So we take a look at Tesla. I just want us to just stop and take a moment and understand today's close in Tesla was its fourth highest close of all time in the stock. You would never suspect that. And I think I saw a tweet about Tim Waltz? Is that his last name? How the stock is up almost 100% since he was tweeting his fun stuff about Elon. I think the big takeaway there is don't make fun of people who are very smart. Absolutely monster move in Tesla, and the trend is intact. Here's that weekly chart. Big, big levels, folks. These are big levels. We know how Tesla moves. We've looked at that monthly chart. I didn't bring it here with me today, but we all know when this name goes, it likes to go. Now, we're sticking to the autonomous mobility theme. The Pony AI, the Chinese autonomous driving play, had a monster move. He was up like 40% last week, knocking on the door of all-time highs. This ticks two boxes in our major themes. China, AI, well, I guess you could say three. China, AI, and autonomous driving. And then we got the Heisai Group, ticker HSAI. This is a name that it's like watching paint dry. We've just been staring at this thing, trade sideways, pressed up against these highs. Hasn't done anything. You got to keep an eye on this one. So for some context, Hesai Group, and I really apologize if I'm butchering that pronunciation, but these folks, they supply Pony, the name referenced back here. They supply Pony with LiDAR hardware. So we have Pony, which is kind of this full stack. They don't make vehicles like Tesla does, but they make the systems for vehicles to become autonomous. These folks here, HSAI, they make the LiDAR and sell that LiDAR then to Pony. All right, ready to take flight. So, transportation, eVTOLs, this is probably like my favorite little niche within this Godspeed universe. And how can you not get excited about this? Here is the Joby S4 aircraft spotted at the Expo 2025 in Osaka. Now, technically, the company is not having its official demonstration flights until October 1st, but look at the crowd that is already amassed to watch this thing take flight. It's pretty freaking cool, folks. It's pretty freaking cool. And I can't tell, I mean, I don't know exactly how you guys see this, but if you see, there's this woman down here, and I think her face sums it up. It's somewhere between shock, terror, and joy, right? She's so excited. She's pointing back at it, but I think she's a little nervous. All right, let's see. I'm going to try and see if this video will play. I think the last time I played video, you guys didn't have audio, so I'm going to just go ahead and mute that. This is pretty cool, folks. This is pretty cool. I think it's been a long time since I was this excited about some sort of technological innovation, but we have it here. So, Joby is going to be having demonstration flights at I want to say it's the California International Air Show, the beginning of October, 4th, 5th, 6th, right in this range, as well as launching its demonstration flights in Osaka. Remember, this is the World's Fair, Expo 2025. You're seeing robots there. We're having booths from many different countries. This is an event that everybody needs to keep an eye on. It seems like nobody's talking about it, which I absolutely can't believe. Where were we? eVTOLs. Pretty incredible stuff. So I want us to get to the charts though, because we're seeing the narrative in the news flow shift positive. Not to say it was negative for these folks, but we're seeing the news flow shift positive even potentially before it's happened yet. We're keeping an eye on what's happening in Osaka. We're keeping an eye on this California International Air Show. And it's likely at some point in the cycle, the major business publications will start picking up on it. And I wouldn't be surprised, if the stock moves in accompanying with that narrative. So we have to keep an eye on Joby because Joby is outperforming Archer year to date, and it's not even close. Joby is up like 100% year to date, 92%, something like that when I checked this morning. Archer is up like 3. So we want to bet on the leaders. I was on the morning show this morning, and I think Strauss made a really good point of like it's way too early to declare anyone a winner in this space, in this ecosystem, in this industry. I wholeheartedly agree. And this is why we follow price. Because price will tell us who the leaders are. So for the time being, if we have to make an assumption of who a leader is going to be, we got to pick Joby because price matters. So here's the daily chart. We have that nice little pivot there off of like $13. You see this bottom scoop? Nice little scoop. I think, folks, as long as we are above that, we got to be dipping our toes in the Joby. We don't want this stock to take off without us in it. All the puns intended there, by the way. And here's the weekly chart of Joby. You can see we're above those SPAC listing highs from 2021. This is an IPO base. If you're a trader, have been trading, and you're familiar with that IPO bases, these are some of the most powerful, explosive bases that you can buy. And they tend to trend for a significant amount of time, a couple quarters at the very least, as long as the market conditions continue to stay favorable. So we don't want to miss this SPAC base, IPO base breakout. And then let's take a look at Archer. You can see this one's a little bit of a laggard. We're technically below its IPO SPAC listing price from 2021, right? These names listed at $10, Archer's down here at 971. So again, if this isn't a clear cut sign as to who's leading in the eyes of Wall Street as of this very moment in time, it's Joby. And we're going to follow the leaders, right? Because as individual small investors, I don't like the word retail because I don't think retail exists anymore, but as individual, independent, small investors, we can be speedboats in the market where institutions are like these cruise ships. We just ride in their wake. If they're buying Joby, let's ride it with them. If they switch to Archer and we see it in the price, we'll switch our thesis. Now, nuclear has gone ballistic as Oklo breaks ground on its powerhouse facility in Idaho. So Oklo broke ground on its powerhouse nuclear facility at the Idaho National Laboratory. Commercial operations are set to begin in 2027 or 2028. The stock was up 60% last week with an absolutely monster move. And folks, this is the first U.S. nuclear reactor groundbreaking in 16 years. That's a long time. It's a long time. And it's a beautiful facility. I mean, when it's all said and done, I'm sure they'll be accepting tours and stuff. So here's the VanEck Uranium and Nuclear ETF. It was up like 12% last week. Monster breakout. Nuclear has been a winner in this AI-enabled trend that we have found ourselves in. And then here's the Oklo chart. This is the daily chart. And stock gave back a few gains today, which is no big deal. And you guys could tell I had to pinch that y-axis on the right there. Very, very small, because this name was just bleeding through the top end of my chart. 60% last week. Oklo. We want to keep an eye on this name. If you already missed it, you gotta let it dance. Let it dance. Keep it on your watch list. Maybe throw a feeler in there, an amount of money that you don't care if it goes to zero, just to get a feel for it, to get a pulse of the action. But it's tough to be buying up here when the stock moves 60% in a week. Now, is Rocket Lab ready to launch? We talked about autonomous driving. We've talked about advanced air mobility. We've talked about nuclear. Now we're talking about space. Space is exciting because the space economy is the new frontier. It's so new, it's so unknown that we're all just speculating here, right? Well, Rocket Lab is really interesting. Not only does the chart look great, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment, but its Neutron rocket is looking for its first flight sometime before the end of the year. Now, it might bleed over to the early part of 2026, but this will be a major milestone for Rocket Lab. And we can see buyers are stepping up to the table. We've been trading in this range, since 55-ish bucks. I'd say all the way down to 40 for the better part of 3 months. If this name breaks out, we went from 25 to 50 in a matter of weeks. We might be on our way to 100. Just some food for thought. Folks, that is all I have for today. If you enjoyed today's program, please leave me a comment. Throw me a like. Maybe give the channel a subscribe. We are so grateful for your support and for your viewership. And also be sure to check out the Godspeed newsletter. Go ahead and find it at godspeed.today. It's just godspeed.today is the website. Pretty futuristic. I'm pretty excited, happy with that domain. Big shout out to JC's team for getting that site set up. And go ahead and subscribe to the newsletter. Until then, I'll see y'all next week.